also dealing with the underlying context of memes, which I think is sort of what we're getting at with this idea of the distracted boyfriend and like what it implies to use that meme. People in the YouTube chat have been talking for a little bit about like the different intentions or the noise of message in certain memes, and I think that that's a really interesting thing. Like specifically, Tom Evans had given the example of like using a Kevin Spacey meme and what it would mean to use that now versus what it would mean to use that a few years ago, and I think that that's really part of the same conversation. I'm curious what other people are thinking about that.
I mean, it again, it points to partly how memes are just like a snapshot in time, and how there's some memes that seem to be classics. I was talking with some students earlier today, and he was, I don't know if disappointed was the right word, but he noticed that we seemed to be talking about mostly the classics in terms of memes. Whereas there's on Reddit, there's this whole subreddit devoted to surrealistic memes, and people are making all sorts of memes that never maybe make it into the mainstream. So I think that speaks to how fast meme culture moves, and how something can become relevant or not so relevant pretty quickly, and how easy it is to detach them from their cultural context. So I think the Kevin Spacey is a really good example. You know, I would feel pretty, hopefully self-aware that I'm doing that, but I don't know, what do other folks think about thinking about the memes and where the memes come from before you maybe use them?
I think there's this weird mix of both trying to be like so universal that you don't need to know who the person is, and then also like having to be totally aware of where this thing came from in case you are actually sharing something that you don't need to share. And so I think it's like just this back and forth thing, right? Like a lot of the memes that were shared yesterday on Meme and Greet were of actors or older actors. And I was going to mention Leo shared the one of like Laurence Olivier or whatever. Like who knows who that is, right? But that works because of just the visual language of it. So like sometimes it matters and sometimes it doesn't. So how confusing is that?
Yeah. Well, and you know, I think it worked within the community of that class where we were discussing Hamlet. We had seen different film versions of Hamlet. So people recognized the scene and the visual vocabulary of it. So this is a kind of in-group, right? Of course, none of those memes were really likely to go viral or anything like that. You know, some would say they're not even memes, they're just image macros, right? And memes is when you reach a certain virality, so to speak, or spreadability, if you will. However, you know, we join conversations. We have our own in conversations, and I think memes happen in sort of regional ways. I had a meme go viral in Puerto Rico, for instance, about some protests that were going on the 1st of May 2 years ago, and I made a meme. Basically, I don't have it handy to share, but basically there was a very large and peaceful protest, at the end of which a small group, which may have been even like planted or acting or something, started attacking and smashing bank windows and trying to set things on fire after the protest had ended, a really small group. And of course, the anti-protest folks were trying to leverage that to try to say this was a violent protest and this was, you know, a failure of civility and so on. And so I made a meme, a visual that really kind of captured a defense of what it means to have a successful protest, you know, and that, I don't know, maybe got 60,000 shares in a 24-hour period. Very much in Puerto Rico, but still it moved in Puerto Rico, and it spoke to the moment. And maybe that's all we can achieve sometimes, and that's fine too. So there's memes in the sort of going global memes, and then there's memes that are more regional.
I think that's probably why people like sharing in these group me environments because it's a set of that the in-group's already there. And so it's so much easier to share something that you know that those people will understand. And I think those probably exist so much more, and people are so scared to actually share something in larger spaces because it, you know, either they're scared that they're going to do something wrong, or they're scared that nobody's going to get it, or nobody's going to think it's funny. And it's like putting yourself out there. So it's interesting the different environments that this sharing happens in.